I never thought the most ordinary chore, setting up a birthday gift, could split my life clean down the middle. Jessica and I had been together 3 solid years. The kind of stretch where you memorize each other's Starbucks orders and finish each other's half-told jokes. She'd turned 27 last Thursday, and I spent 2 paychecks on a silver-gray Galaxy Tab, the one she'd circled in a Best Buy ad and then sworn she didn't need. Saturday morning, she padded into the kitchen in my oversized college hoodie, clutching the box like it held state secrets, and asked if I could link it to our Wi-Fi before brunch. No problem, babe. Our network is named 04112 Ever After. April 12th, the night we met at Finnegan's Pub. The password's just 041112. Romantic in a borderline cheesy way, but it always makes Jessica smile. I typed it once, hit join, and watched the usual spinning wheel. Then the screen flashed that subtle Android toast. Connected. Except it did it twice, rapid fire like a stutter. I blinked and pulled down the network list. 2 identical SSIDs, same goofy name, same signal strength bars, except the second one leaned 1 pixel stronger, like it was claiming seniority. Why would her brand new tablet carry credentials to a network she'd never even seen? A thin coil of cold slid down my back. Jess called from the hallway. "Bagel or waffle, babe?" I croaked back, "Bagel," but my voice felt borrowed. She couldn't see the trembling in my thumb as I screenshotted the network details. The tablet was factory fresh. There was only one way those settings existed. Someone had connected this exact device to that other 412 Ever After before it landed in her hands. And that someone had to be Jessica. I'm not the jealous type, or so I'd bragged in quieter times, but curiosity can turn a man into a detective faster than heartbreak ever could. When Jessica ducked into the shower, I airdropped the tablet's Wi-Fi logs to my phone. Buried in developer settings was a MAC address and GPS stamp from the first time it saw that twin network. Last Monday, 9:14 p.m., downtown Bloomington, 30 miles away. Monday was girls' night. Jess swore it was just tacos and reality TV at her friend Claire's. My gut said otherwise. I sat on the edge of our bed, the scent of her coconut shampoo floating through the open bathroom door, and mapped the coordinates. They pointed to an apartment complex called Pinecrest Lofts, Building C. I zoomed in as steam curled across the hallway light. For a flicker, I pictured myself pressing ignore, telling no one, letting love stay uncomplicated. Then the shower cut off. I snapped a photo of the map, deleted my browsing history, and forced a smile as she walked out wrapped in a towel. The week crawled by. Jess hummed, laughed, kissed me goodnight like nothing had shifted, while each gesture rattled inside me like coins in a dryer. By Thursday, I'd crafted a harmless excuse. My boss needed extra hands on a weekend inventory audit, overnight shift, no phones allowed. Jess offered sympathy and homemade lasagna. I pocketed her apartment key while she grated Parmesan. Friday midnight, instead of clocking in, I aimed my Civic toward Pinecrest Lofts, adrenaline yawning inside my ribs. The parking lot was half-lit and slick from a spring drizzle. My phone clung to 1 bar of service, but the minute I rolled down the window, the tablet saw its ghost again. 042 Ever After, 3 bars, begging to connect. I parked. Each stair to the 3rd floor groaned under the question beating inside my skull. What version of Jessica waits on the other side of that door? Apartment 3C's doorframe wore a tiny dent where someone had once hung a wreath. I raised my knuckles but didn't knock. Instead, I tried the handle. Unlocked. The living room beyond was a near copy of ours. Same mid-century sofa, identical IKEA bookshelf, even the fake fiddle-leaf fig Jess had insisted was good for TikTok backgrounds. For a wild second, I wondered if I'd sleep drove back home. Then a low male voice drifted from the kitchen. "Jess, you want red or white?" Her laugh answered, soft and unmistakable. I stepped forward. The man emerged first, tall, athletic, Rutgers sweatshirt, holding 2 stemless glasses. Behind him floated Jessica, hair up, wearing the exact terracotta sweater she'd said she donated last fall. 2 glasses slipped, shattering on laminate. 3 heartbeats passed before anyone spoke. "Adam?" she breathed, color draining. The guy squared his shoulders like a defensive tackle. "Dude, who the hell are you?" I opened my mouth, but only static came out. Instead, I lifted the tablet, woke the screen, showed them both the dual network icon glowing under settings. Jessica's eyes flicked from the tablet to me to the sobbing shards of wine glass at our feet. In that marathon of silence, I watched her craft 3 years of memories into a single sentence. "I was trying to figure out how to tell you," she whispered, voice ribbon thin. Behind her, the Rutgers guy, Kyle, I'd later learn, looked between us like a referee suddenly realizing he's in the wrong stadium. He muttered, "You said you'd broken up." Jess winced as though the words were glass too. I could list the arguments, the tears, the apologies, but they blur now like rain on a windshield. What stays sharp is the Wi-Fi panel glowing between my hands, our anniversary rendered in cold numbers, 04112, duplicated corrupted. I left them standing among wet footprints of Merlot, walked the halls until the elevator doors closed on Jessica pleading my name. Outside, dawn nudged the clouds pink. The tablet vibrated once. Final notification. Network 04112, ever after disconnected. In that quiet parking lot, I finally understood. Sometimes the clearest reception is what tells you it's time to cut the signal for good. The sun was still low enough to throw long shadows between the rows of parked cars when I finally slid behind the wheel and slammed the Civic's door. My hands shook so badly I missed the ignition twice. The starter whined, fell silent, then caught on a third twist, just as my breath did the opposite, spilled out in a broken sob I didn't recognize as my own. I should have expected this kept looping through my head, but the voice saying it sounded borrowed from somebody older and colder. I drove without a destination, just south, letting the interstate signs scroll by like unwatched credits. Somewhere outside Indianapolis, the tank hit a quarter, and the adrenaline crash-landed. A truck-stop diner flickered open in neon, and I pulled in, parking under a buzzing light that made the paint on my hood look bruised. Inside, the place smelled like burnt coffee and fried hope. Perfect. I took a booth facing the window so no one could sneak up on me, the way reality just had. The waitress, a 60-something named Pearl whose name tag kept tilting sideways, poured me coffee until it tasted more like iron than beans. I must have looked haunted, because when I asked for a stack of napkins, she slid over the whole dispenser. I spent an hour turning those napkins into a timeline. Bullet points of every night. Jessica said she was late at yoga, every dead battery text, every sudden urgency to shower the moment she got home. Each dot connected to Pinecrest Lofts until the pattern was impossible to ignore. Around noon, I opened our shared bank app, first time I'd ever snooped, and scrolled expenses. Twice a month Venmo transfers to CJ Interiors, a name I'd never heard. I Googled it. Claire Jacobs, the same Claire who hosted Girls' Night, except Claire ran no interior design anything. Her LinkedIn said accounting clerk. I sat back so fast the bench squeaked. Claire was the decoy. Girls' Night my foot. They'd used her name as a laundering label for dinners, gas, maybe even that tablet. The ache behind my eyes sharpened into something surgical. I needed proof in a tidy audit, not a storm cloud of suspicions. Pearl topped up the mug again and patted my elbow like I was her grandson shipping out. That small kindness lit a fuse. I paid, tipped too much, and decided if my relationship had turned into an investigation, I was finishing the paperwork. Saturday, 3:47 p.m. 26 hours after the wineglass war zone, I parked in our driveway. Jess's Corolla was gone. Good. I let myself in, grabbed 3 moving boxes from the attic, and started sorting life into keep and question marks. The TV still had last night's Netflix suggestion paused on the screen, because you watched Love Actually. I almost laughed at the algorithm's cruelty. Halfway through stuffing sweaters into a box, I heard the front door. Jessica stepped in, eyes red, hair in a panic bun, phone clenched so tight her knuckles glowed. She froze when she saw the cardboard. "Adam, wait, can we talk?" I kept folding. "We talked. You talked to me, you talked to Kyle. Kind of feel like you've used up your words." She flinched but pressed on. "It started as stupid flirting, okay? You were always working doubles. Kyle lived near my spin class." "That's your opener? Blame my overtime?" The anger came out flat, tired, like it had been driving all night too. She sank onto the couch we'd assembled on our first Christmas together. "I didn't plan the double life thing. After the first lie I couldn't dig out, so I just built parallel truths. I thought of those twin Wi-Fi networks, parallel truths broadcasting on adjacent frequencies." "How long?" "The 1.5 years. The number hit harder than any punch. 18 months meant half our mortgage payments, 2 Thanksgiving trips to my parents, a shared Spotify Duo account full of playlists titled Road Trip Us. I sat on the coffee table, leaning forward like a negotiator. Why keep me? Why not just break up and be with him? Tears streaked her mascara, leaving black commas. Because you're home, Adam. Your comfort. And he's excitement, I guess. I know that sounds awful. It sounds cowardly, I said. Silence filled the living room the way smoke fills a room after a candle's blown out, slow, inevitable. Jessica wiped her cheeks. I booked a therapist. I'll pay next month's rent. I'll sleep at Claire's until you figure out what you want. I already figured, I said, taping the first box shut. I want honesty, and you can't give me that. The move took 48 hours, 6 friends, and 1 U-Haul that smelled like damp plywood. Jess wasn't there. She left a handwritten apology on the counter and a spare key under it. I tossed both into a drawer I labeled off-limits and never opened again. I crashed on my buddy Marcus's futon for 2 weeks, long enough to learn that heartbreak has stages nobody prints on motivational posters. There's the inventory stage, where you rerun every date night searching for red flags you missed. There's synapse roulette, where every random object, salt shaker, movie stub, spins memories like a slot machine rigged to land on her smile. And finally, signal detox. The weird relief of forgetting your phone exists, because no notification from her can hurt if the screen stays dark. Somewhere in week 3, my phone buzzed. Unknown number, Bloomington area code. I let it go to voicemail. Later curiosity won, and I played it on speaker. Hey Adam, it's Kyle. Look man, I'm sorry, I didn't know. She told me last night she finally came clean to you. For what it's worth, I ended it. I'm an idiot, but not that big an idiot. End it? I rewound. That meant Kyle dumped her after learning about me. Funny how betrayal feels smaller when shared. I deleted the message, but saved the number. Evidence, I told myself. Of what, I wasn't sure. Spring turned Indiana green again, and on a breezy April 12th, our would-have-been anniversary, I stood outside an AT&T store, clutching the router from the old house. I'd canceled the account, wiped the name, and asked the rep to trash the device. She offered a $20 credit for recycling. I said keep it. I wanted no refunds on the past. Walking back to my car, I spotted a coffee shop I'd never tried. I almost kept going. Routine, and I weren't friends right now, but the chalkboard on the sidewalk read New Wi-Fi Network, Better Days 4/13. The date, April 13th, tomorrow. Somebody in there was already planning for after today. I stepped inside. The place smelled like hope in paper cups. The barista, a tall woman with a sunflower tattoo, greeted me with the kind of smile that doesn't audition for anything. I ordered a black coffee, no sugar. When she flipped the iPad around for my name, I paused, then typed Adam 04113. Maybe it was petty symbolism. Maybe it was the first honest thing I'd done in months. Either way, the tablet chimed connected just once. No echo, no twin network hiding in the margins. As I took the first sip, the bitterness surprised me less than the sudden thought that someday, maybe next week, maybe next year, I could rename a network to something that belonged only to me again, password optional. And for the first time since double bars lit up on Jessica's tablet, the signal inside my chest felt strong, single, and entirely mine.